Shabbat Shalom. It's nice to be here.
Nice to be here. Thank you. So Shabbat Shalom. It's good to see everybody.
I'm Rabbi Werber. You know Rabbi Barr from Congregation Beth Adam in Cincinnati, and we're thrilled to share another Shabbat with you. I decided it would be a nice week to have you join and do some of the service reading because it's been a while and maybe people miss you.
Thank you. I miss everybody.
Sometimes.
Sometimes I don't.
Even as we're here, happy to be together, joking around, it has been a challenging week. Monday, we began with Martin Luther King Day. We were reminded of where we were, where we are, and how much we still need to do to get anywhere close to these dreams that we had way back when.
Right.
And then that day was, of course, shared with the inauguration. And that ushered in days of trepidation for just about everyone, regardless of political leaning. So we know we're approaching Shabbat at a difficult time. And I kind of thought about what can we do? How can we address this time? And I started looking through old Beth Adam books, old liturgy, seeing if there was a reading that would be new to me. And instead I found this complete Shabbat service from way back in the old days.
And you joke that I kept too many things.
I do joke. And it was on my bookshelf when I got here. Yes. And reflection after reflection in this 1990 service somehow spoke to this moment. And so tonight we're going to pause and we sort of kind of try not to look forward or back on Shabbat, but just to be in this moment. But at the same time as we're pausing and doing that, we do draw strength from the past and from hope for the future. So what we did is we abbreviated that service a little. Back in 1990, we had long Shabbat services.
Longer Shabbat service. We did, and I should say that not everything was original to Beth Adam back then. We used other people's, and in that particular service at the end, there were acknowledgments of where we drew those particular readings from. But we went through a process of using other people's material and slowly finding our own voice. But yes, the services were longer, but my talks were shorter.
There you go. So this one is mostly original Beth Adam stuff, and we'll do our best to credit where it isn't, the parts that we're using. But it comes from our Ritual and Life Cycle Committee in 1990.
As Shabbat approaches, the evening beckons us, inviting us to slow the pulse of our daily activities, to consider a different pace. It is at this time, at the end of our hectic week, that we create a silent space, a place to deepen our awareness of the passage of time. We pause to renew our vision, to refresh our spirit, to embrace the wonders of life.
As Shabbat approaches, we dare to dream. The dusk softens the stark light of reality, which often looks harsh, uncompromising, unbending. The night can intensify our imagination, encourage our hopes.
May we use this time, this Shabbat, to renew our confidence. Let us look not only at our fragility of our lives, at our trials and disappointments. Let us emphasize the strength of our lives, the successes, the many pleasures that make up the fabric of our days.
Shabbat reminds us of the passage of time, encouraging us to use our time wisely, giving meaning to our lives.
Shabbat reminds us of the beauty in life, allowing us to reflect upon the joys, the moments, the treasured moments in our days.
Shabbat reminds us of the values of our Jewish heritage, prompting us to use this time, as did our ancestors, to consider what gives value to our lives.
Sabbath is a time becoming so slow that we can feel a tree grow. Come, let us welcome the Sabbath bride.
The Sabbath is a place becoming so wide that we can touch our hearts inside.
The Sabbath is a sound becoming so still that we can hear our quiet love swell.
The Sabbath is a light becoming so clear that we can see the dark night appear. Come, let us welcome the Sabbath bride. Lecha dodi likrat kala. We welcome the Sabbath bride in song.
And those words were written by Fanchon Shur. I recall Fanchon Shur was married to Bonya Shur, who was liturgical arts director at the Hebrew Union College. And Fanchon and Bonya used to help with Congregation Beth Adam creating music and liturgy. And that was a piece that she had written.
Well, thank you for adding that for us. Not the Lecha Dodi we're singing, but the introduction to it was hers. She was an interesting and very energetic and poetic person. Yeah. If you know Lecha Dodi, join along. We join together with different voices and shared ideas to celebrate the Sabbath. We affirm our bond with each other, our people, and our heritage. We come here to draw strength from one another, to bridge our separateness, to reflect on our shared place in the world.
On this Shabbat, we clear our eyes of everyday cares to look beyond ourselves. We share the visions of our ancestor who strived to bring life and light to the world. Together, we attempt what we cannot do alone. Together, we build bridges of strength and beauty to carry us through our daily lives as we step forward to embrace the future.
How beautiful is this day of Shabbat when we focus on the present and the looking forward, the bridging now and tomorrow. Eternity utters a day.
A bolt has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night. And eternity utters a day. Eternity utters a day. Lie, 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 lie.
As the darkness descends, we light these candles as symbols that the darkness will not be triumphant. Wisdom will overcome ignorance, trust will shatter fear, an open heart is more powerful than a closed mind.
As we light our Shabbat candles, we know that the spark of wisdom glows brightly, and the flame of hope is a beacon which illuminates the night.
It takes courage to trust and not to succumb to fear, to believe that the flame will endure.
It takes courage to stand and speak the truth, to believe that the flame will endure.
It takes courage to open one's heart and mind, to believe that the flame will endure.
It takes courage to remember the hurt, yet smile again, to believe the flame will endure.
It takes courage to go on, believing in possibility, to believe the flame will endure.
It takes courage to act, for actions affirm our values. We believe the flame will endure. Would you like to light?
I'll light it. Baruch ha'or ba'olam, blessed is the light within the world. Baruch ha'or ba'adam, blessed is the light within each person. Baruch ha'or ba'Shabbat, blessed is the light of the Sabbath.
We are blessed and cursed by the gift of self-awareness. We make discoveries. The world becomes more knowable. We find our place. When there is order, understanding, we are calmed.
Nevertheless, we continue to ask questions. Not easily sated, our need to know probes further, driven, determined. Certainty at times eludes us. We accept this, living within the tense bonds of our limits.
For comfort and strength, we look inward to our humanity, to history for continuity, and to one another for the connection of community. Living is an art. Like artists, we must stop from time to time as we work to reflect on our creation. We must take care not to become too absorbed in each brushstroke and lose awareness of the whole canvas. The Sabbath is one of those moments when we pause in our daily tasks to consider, to reflect. We can then return to our painting with energy, purpose, and pleasure. This evening, we take just a few moments silently to take that time for reflection so that we can return with energy. Our conversation this evening is about one of those things we can return to with energy and purpose only after we rest and rejuvenate. But first, just a little bit of context. In a couple of weeks, we will celebrate Tu B'Shvat. This is the birthday of the trees.
Who knew birthdays had trees? But they do.
The trees had birthdays.
The trees had birthdays. What did I have?
Birthdays have trees. Who knew? Trees have birthdays. And they all have a birthday on the same day in Jewish tradition.
And what do you buy a tree?
Right.
Right. So you can Google that and see, what do you buy a tree for his birthday?
This is what happens when you join me, right?
I'm sorry. Do I digress? This is the first time.
Well, now I'm going to continue, but everyone is currently Googling, what do you buy a tree for his birthday? So it's our birthday of the trees. Don't be sorry. And it's also sort of a Jewish Earth Day. It's a chance to appreciate nature and nature's abundance. And we focus on planting and harvesting. So for those living in Cincinnati, because Tu B'Shvat turns us to the fruits and the nuts and the things that grow in Israel, in the land of Israel, we will be collecting dried fruits and nuts along with some spices for the Life Food Pantry in Loveland. It's one of those things that those are things, dried fruits, nuts, spices that people at the food pantry often don't get. They get a lot of macaroni and cheese and a lot of peanut butter, but they don't get those kinds of things. So we'll be doing a collection in conjunction with Tu B'Shvat. I had the pleasure of speaking with one of our members, Sandy Powers Griffin, who volunteers quite a lot at the pantry and helps so many people in our community, as well as encouraging us to make sure we're thinking of those who are in need. Sandy helps to organize our congregational food collections as well as our chili cooking days. And we have a chili cooking day coming up. So stay tuned for details about that.
And many of you have actually supported Life when we announced it during the high holidays with the food drive. If you're not in Cincinnati, people have made donations and for the December gift shop that they do. So we appreciate that too, because Life's so important for this community that we're in.
Exactly. And the needs is great here and elsewhere right now.
Yep.
Right. So if you're in town, you can help with the chili cooking. If you're out of town, you can still be part of our collection for the pantry, and you can always support us in those collections. I invited Sandy to talk to us about food insecurity, but also about the people who are using the pantry, because we often forget how close they are to us and what little it takes to be in that position. So we want to talk about who's using the pantry, why is it needed so badly, and the ways that we can help. I'm happy to have Sandy here with us. Welcome, Sandy. I'm so glad we could have this conversation.
Thank you.
I wanted to start, we talked maybe last week about Jewish tradition and what Jewish tradition has to say about hunger, about food insecurity, about our obligations, but everyone else wasn't with us. So
True.
I want to just give a tiny taste, because Jewish tradition is very clear about our obligation to care for those who are in need. We have maybe what people know the best is from the Passover Seder, let all who are hungry come and eat. And they meant it, like open your door and everybody should always have something. And especially on Passover, when we're celebrating this time, this time of thinking about the story of being enslaved and then being free, that remembrance that it's at the drop of a hat, that any of us could be in a situation of need. And therefore we remember that feeling from our mythic history, and we make sure it doesn't happen to anybody else. We also talked a little about what's called the tamchui, weird word. It's named for the big pot of food that would have been put out. And in the Talmud, we're told you have to have this. It's essentially an early soup kitchen, and you have to contribute to it. And people have to be able to come and get food when it's needed. And even the poor need to contribute if it won't make them so poor that they need it.
Right.
Right. So even if we look at other people and we say they have so much more than us, why do we have to be the ones? We have to be the ones because we can be the ones.
Right.
And we have this obligation to care for those who are in need. And therefore, talking to you about what Life does and what you do and what we can do is very much connected to our religious history. So can you give us a sense first, for those who might not know, and probably I don't know the scope of need in the community and what Life does and how it fits into that?
Okay. Well, Life serves a little over 14% of the loan community, but most of it is you don't see it. And we do a lot. We don't just do food. We do financial aid for rent and heat or electricity. We have a deal with a car maintenance guy who'll do general maintenance on cars, oil changes and tire rotations and some minor other things. And those are pretty much the big highlighted kind of things we do. People come in with other issues. I am now qualified to sign people up for SNAP. Now, I can't okay the SNAP, but they can come to me and they know me, so they're filling out the paperwork with someone they know. They're not uncomfortable showing me their stuff, and then I just send it in for them. So we're trying to get more people on SNAP because a lot of them aren't on SNAP.
That's something we wouldn't know.
Right. Yeah.
But it's
And
daunting.
because I also run an EBT SNAP program at the farmers market, I want our clients to be on them because they get up to $25 a week free produce during summertime every week. So from May through October. And then if they still have things left over, they can go to other markets that accept them. So they can get it for a longer period of time. So we really want to encourage it. So doing the SNAP is new this year. We just started doing it ourselves and making people more comfortable. So that's something new. But basically, those are the basic things that
it's interesting. I knew there were things I wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
The car maintenance, for example, is something we don't all think about all the time, but it's so central to jobs, which
Mhm.
then move you away from the need. And so for a place that's
Or
looking-
people live in their cars.
or people live in their car. See, I wasn't even going far enough, right? That that the notion of looking at the whole person and not one narrow need, but what needs to wrap around to make.
And everybody is individual. There's, if you've met one person who needs help from the pantry, you've met one person.
Right.
And we serve about 500 and something people a week, families, not just people. So, and every case is very individual. And that's one of the reasons I choose to be a shopper there, because then I know a lot of the clients. And when I see them out on the street, I can stand and talk to them, instead of just signing them in and stuff. And I hear their stories and I hear more about their lives. So that's my choice of not doing the math and the computer stuff.
Right. But so tell us what a shopper does.
A shopper, we walk around with the clients and help them shop. They have, depending on their family size, they get X amount of things, and we have things set up by shelves. So you get X amount off of these shelves, X amount off of this. The only thing they're not allowed to touch, we have to get for them, is anything out of the freezers, so that it doesn't get mixed around, so we can find things. And then fresh produce. If they what they want, then we bag it, and we wear gloves sometimes. We don't always, but usually around fresh produce we do. So
I'm glad I asked, because the model I'm familiar with is volunteers come and pack paper bags of stuff, and that's what people get. And this is so much more respecting people's tastes and people as shoppers and as regular people.
And we did when I started working at the Life Food Treasury, which is like 12 years ago. We were at Prince of Peace, and that is exactly what we had to do. Then in 2020, when we moved to our first place in Shoppers Haven, that was the point, was to be a shopping pantry. But that we outgrew that with very, very, very quickly. So now we're in a much bigger space. So we can have 3 or 4 people shopping. And the last time I worked, last Friday, we had 5 people shopping at one time, because the holidays, we were packed.
Right.
So, yes, it gives them much more dignity and responsibility for what they want to eat. We don't choose. And because we have such a large, diverse community, everything we do, anything written or anything, is done in 4 languages: English, Spanish, Russian, and Uzbek. And then we have a translator. We all had them on our phones at one time, but now we have one there, actually 2, in the pantry, that when someone comes in and does not speak English, now obviously I don't speak Uzbek or Russian,
Imagine.
we can talk into it and then turn it around to them. It will say it to them and they can read it. And so we can have communication back and forth pretty fluidly on what they want. And so, so we have now added a halal section of both meats and other things that they need, that is special just for people who use that.
For those who don't know, that would be for the Muslim community.
Yes, primarily.
With a lot of overlap.
Yes.
With kashrut. So
yes.
It strictly speaking, they don't. It doesn't cross over to what's called a hechsher for kashrut, but there's so much overlap that it would actually help the Jewish community as well.
And that's one of the reasons, because we have a lot of people that have recently come here from the Ukraine are also Jewish. So it was something that it was a need that they had. So we had to find a grant that would help us do that, so we could serve our community.
The responsiveness is amazing. That it sounds like the thoughtfulness in terms of how, first, what's needed, and then how best to deliver that in a way that, as we said, maintains dignity. Can you mention, we already said, if you know one story, you know one story,
right,
but give us a sense of the diversity of reasons or people that you encounter.
We have people that have had a recent accident, and maybe they have suddenly gone into disability, and they may have been making $100,000 and now they're living on Social Security disability. That's a big change.
Right.
So helping them get acclimated. So we'll help you with your food and we'll help you with this so that the money you do have, you can learn to pay your other bills. We have veterans that are now homeless that choose to be homeless. Any of our homeless clients can come every week whenever they need it because some have a campsite and they can cook on fire and they have places to do that. Others live in their cars and they go to Speedway and use their microwave. So it depends on what they need and how much, or some are on a bike, so how much they can carry and what they can do. So that's again a large part of our community. And we have people with mental health issues that are also homeless. And we have to deal, where are they when they walk in? And okay, wait, we need to have you settle down a little bit, then you come back in, go take a walk, come back. And then we have a lot of older generations that like my age, so that are retired and just don't have the money to do. So one of the things we try to teach is we have food. Spend your money on your rent and your electricity. Don't necessarily go to Kroger's and things like that. And then yesterday we just learned SCPA just opened up a food pantry for dogs in Blue Ash. So we're dogs and cats. So they do food, wet food, dry food, toys, treats, things like that for all pets. So we will hook into them. They've been in other places, but
and that's so important because, as you said, people who are in need have so many paths to it, and to lose your pet because your circumstances changed, and to have to grieve that in addition is really overwhelming for people.
Right.
So any of these places that help people stay with their pets. When people first hear that, I've seen them go, well, why are we feeding the pets? Why do they have their pets? But if you think of the way a pet is part of your family, you would never say, you don't have enough. Why do you have a child? Right. And pets are that companionship. So I didn't know about Blue Ash, but I'm thrilled to hear that as well. You didn't mention the immigrant population as well.
We have a very large Russian, Loveland has one of the largest Russian communities in the city. And so, obviously over the last couple of years, there's been an influx we now have a larger Uzbek community than we do Russian community. And we've learned that Uzbeks, the only way they shopped in Uzbekistan was at food pantries. They don't have grocery stores. So this is this is how they do things. This is normal for them. Fits everything they know how to do. So
I didn't realize that. I'm going backwards because when you said something, I wanted to highlight it and I forgot to. So that's going backwards. You mentioned the veterans who choose to be homeless. We need to sit down another time to talk about that. Mm-hmm. I've had a conversation in the past about that, and it was enlightening in terms of the way all of these systems work and life works. There are people for whom homelessness is the best choice. Yeah. And it's hard for those of us who have not experienced that or live in that world to understand that. I don't know if you want to give a couple sentences. There's no way we can address that fully now.
A lot of our veterans come back with some mental health issues, and living in a confined space is very different and difficult for them. They need to be outside. They need to and feel that they can find their own shelter or their own safe space and not be told where that happens to be. That seems to be one of the biggest issues. Because coming in, they feel like they can't get out, and they're particularly if they had been a prisoner of some sort for even a short period of time.
Right.
We don't address their mental health issues. We can't do that, but we at least accept them where they are and know that they have to be okay when they come in, and whatever we can do to help them, if they're in an agitated state or if they're afraid, whatever we can do to help, we do that.
It's a tremendous gift because, there's some tension in the social services field in terms of, do we expect things? Do we, in order to give, and what parts of the puzzle do we have to put together? And the reality is that certain needs need to be met. And it's not our place to determine the stuff outside of that. And it's really a gift when somewhere like Life can say, we're meeting people where they are and giving them what they need, not
And we only interact with them for maybe 30 minutes. I mean, it's not like this is a long period of time, but you have to take someone where they are.
Yeah.
You can't pigeonhole them into something else.
Right.
So another one of our clients are often grandmothers that are taking care of all their
wonderful.
and particularly we have one who she has 3 daughters and 8 grandchildren all living with her in the same house. And she's the caregiver. So yeah, that's a big responsibility.
That is. Wow.
A long shop.
Right. Right. Wow. Can you tell us a little of what two things at once? I think they'll go together. If there are misconceptions about what's needed and how things work and what we can do as a community.
Needs are obviously, particularly during January, February, March. Nobody donates to pantries. They do it in November, December. We get inundated with huge food drives and coat drives and things. But January, February, March, and then the summer months, again, it's not in the forefront of people's minds. Now, right now, when it's as cold as it is, we may be getting more things than we have in the past. But so those are hard times. And that's when some churches, they have a monthly collection and they do that. Some will do, if they're doing a small thing like spices or something that's not very expensive, anytime you walk into the building, before you can walk into the building, you have to bring whatever this item is and put it in a barrel. And that's really, really helpful. And in terms of spices, people don't think of salt and pepper. So we get tagine, we get cayenne pepper, we get those kinds of things. We have basic salt and pepper.
Wow.
There are things that people can't use their SNAP stuff on, like diapers, and we do something with the diaper thing, Sweet Cheeks. We get some diapers and things from them from time to time. But the diapers and personal care items, none of that can be bought with SNAP. They have to pay for that themselves. And those are very expensive items, particularly diapers. And if you have, like my grandmother who has like 4 kids under the age of 3, that hurts middle or upper middle class income. Those kinds of items, right? So for somebody who's really on a fixed income, those things matter a whole lot. And basically, like flour and oil, another thing that we just don't always have. We do not ever need beans of any sort or corn. We get a lot of notes here. And like as we talked about doing one for Two Spot here and doing fruit and nuts and they're like, yes, that sounds so cool. And then we're trying to put together a recipe to put with each one of those things, like make granola, how to make some granola, or how to do trail mix or something using these fruits, these nuts, and then making sure we have oats and other things to go with it.
What a great idea. And that underlines the fact it's because you're in need doesn't mean you eat macaroni and cheese and beans all the time. And those pieces that allow you to cook being important. When I mentioned dried fruit and nuts, as we came to that, Sandy's response was, we never get that. They never get that. And I think from the outside, we often say people don't need that, when in fact, we all want a variety of things. And that's kind of why we chose to stay in that theme, to give something that's not always given.
And all different cultures need different things too. So when we do get like dried raisins, or we get raisins, or we get some nuts, you will see certain people are always gravitated toward them, and it has to do with their culture. It doesn't have to do with any, like me walking in. It wouldn't have something to do with me because I don't usually cook with pistachios or things, but other cultures do. And it's like, oh my gosh, they've got these things. And so then they get to pick a special meal that they hadn't been able to do. We don't know what that is, but they know what it is.
They know, right. So that's interesting too, as you're talking, and we're going to wrap up in a minute, when you mentioned what groups have grown. So it might be interesting for us as a community to learn about Uzbek cooking, right? And say, what can we donate that would allow for those particular immigrants to cook some of the foods that they most
Right.
often cook, or whatever group we chose to learn about, because that would be, it's bad enough to come and not have basic needs
Right.
met, but then to lose your cultural,
That's
what you know would be difficult.
And they do try to, go into the community and be as much as they possibly can. But yet, there's special holidays that we don't know what they have. And when they find those things, then they can do something good to go back to remember their home and to remember.
Right.
I mean, I would think immigrating to another country, particularly during a time of war, would be very difficult. So, and then there's a person here at Beth Adam who met last year at Passover, and he runs the urgent care in Montgomery, and he also hooked us up with a lawyer that can help. They'll help all the immigrants from Russian and Uzbek get physicals, to find jobs, and to do some of the legal work. I don't know about getting a green card, but at least getting their visas properly done. And so there's a lot of needs.
Wow, a lot of needs.
Yes.
It's remarkable to me. I mean, it's a relatively small,
Right.
Life in particular is relatively small. And the reason we're focusing, by the way, on life is because it's right here. It's
lovely.
Obviously what we're learning applies anywhere, but it's right here in Loveland for those of us who are local. You gave me some ideas to think about for this community in particular.
Good.
I hope we can all really internalize this notion of promoting the dignity of every person, not making assumptions, not making it our place to really even think about the whys beyond how we can help, right? And to focus on what we can do and how we can support people moving into whatever they see as the healthiest place for them.
Our goal is to get them away from the pantry.
Of course.
That not have to have this need, to get them on their feet, to do that. But we've had clients for as long as I've been there.
Right.
So everything is, but you can help also by, anybody can come and volunteer. Anybody can help us do a chili cook. Anybody.
I forgot to mention the chili cook. Thank you. That's coming up.
Yeah,
February 2nd. If you don't know, the congregation cooks massive amounts of chili that we deliver periodically as a ready-made meal to the pantry, and it's quite an experience. So volunteer if you can for the chili cook, and maybe we'll get information out at some point about volunteering as well, or think about volunteering as a group if we could. As Jewish Vat's approaching, I hope you'll also remember, join us for the gathering if you're in town, and remember to bring some donations so that we can bring some freshness to the pantry in these winter months when it's very much needed. And thank you, Sandy, for joining us and for all you do.
Thanks.
In the spirit of hope inspired by the work Sandy and so many others are doing, and that we're called to be a part of as well, we return now to Beth Adam's liturgy. This is a reflection adapted from an anonymous source.
I believe that we have the power to make tomorrow different from today.
I believe that poverty need not be permanent, and people need not learn more forever.
I believe in people, despite the misery and suffering that we sustain.
I believe that there can yet be a time of peace and a time of justice.
A time of unity for all who live on earth.
I believe that we share the task of bringing that day closer by the way in which we live.
The world may smile at my dreams,
but no matter, I still believe. You can take this.
Each of us is more than an individual. Each of us is part of the Jewish people. When we are individuals, our lives are brief and our efforts temporary. But when we are members of a living people, our lives reach back into the past and reach forward into the future. As we dream of tomorrow, we do not forget our yesterdays. We remember those who illuminated our world with their uniqueness. We pause at this time to reflect upon those who are no longer among us. This moment of remembrance links life to life, generation to generation.
Ein bidei amada takoak la kormash tamun balev. Death cannot take that which is locked in our hearts. With our tears and our sorrow, we remember. With our courage and our strength, we do not forget. Acts of kindness, deeds of courage will remain. Beauty created, wisdom shared is not lost. With our tears and our sorrow, we remember.
Im dama'ot be'einenu, be'et evlenu, nishmor al zecher achuvenu. With our tears in our sorrow, we remember.
Zecher tzadik livracha. May the memory of good people bless our days. Turning from memory to the joy of Shabbat, we join in our blessing for wine. Bruchim hachayim ba'olam, blessed is the life within the world. Bruchim hachayim ba'adam, blessed is the life within us.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. As this Shabbat service draws to a close, let us consider what we have done here. We, like our ancestors, have gathered to welcome the Shabbat. We've considered issues that concern us as we strive to shape our lives. We have thought about life and its values, death and its finality. As we turn away from this time of thought and these moments of silence, let us draw strength from coming together to reflect and consider the challenges that life presents.
Tonight we have paused and turned our vision inward. We have struggled to better understand who we are and what we are becoming. Tonight we have rested from our daily work, and in so doing, dreamed of days yet to come.
Tonight we've expanded our vision and saw not with our eyes, but with our hearts and minds. Tonight the peace of the Sabbath brings a tranquility to our lives. May its peace be with us throughout our week.
Our closing benediction is a little bit different tonight. It is Debbie Friedman's Tefillat HaDerech, a reflection, a prayer for the way, for the path, the road ahead. As we have an unknown path ahead, we seek a Sabbath of peace, while aware of the worries we are striving to put aside. May we indeed be blessed as we go on our way. And thank you to Rabbi Barr for joining us for this piece of that journey.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. Shabbat Shalom.
Tefillat HaDerech, a blessing, a prayer for the road.
May we be blessed as we go on our way. May we be guided in peace. May we be blessed with health and joy.
Shabbat Shalom. May it be a Sabbath of peace and joy and rejuvenation.
Shabbat Shalom.